What's up, guys? This is Bobby Douglas, and we are back again today with another 2020 NBA Draft Prospect full game video breakdown. Today we're going to be looking at ASVEL guard Théo Maledon. Théo is a 6'3", point guard, pretty long. I think he has around a 6'8", 6'9" wingspan, which is pretty impressive for a 6'3" player. Again, he averaged around 7 points a game, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds a game. And this is in EuroLeague, by the way, so his stats are obviously going to be a little bit deflated compared to some of the college guys that I'll be looking at. But, this is a guy where coming into this season, he was seen as a top 10 level prospect. And he was actually seen as probably the best French prospect in the draft. And then Killian Hayes had a really good season at Ulm. And Théo kind of was inconsistent with his playing time and things like that. So he dropped. And now I see him as a late teens to mid-20s area prospect. Right now I have him 25th on my big board, just to give you a little bit of perspective as to where I have him. But again, 7.5 points a game, 3 assists, 2 rebounds. Not horrible numbers for, a teenager playing in the EuroLeague, which is probably the second best league in the world. So just keep that in mind when you're watching him. And yeah, let's just get into it right now. So he's going to be number 6 in black. And this game is against Real Madrid. I think we watched the Killian Hayes game when he played Real. So he's number 6 in black. Again, he's a point guard. I think you could play him off the ball as well, just because I do think he's long enough to defend off the ball. And, he's a little bit raw just overall in his skills. But I do think there is some upside to him. So he's going to set a little screen there. It's a nice screen assist for Théo. Things I like about Théo, I think he takes big strides when he's driving, which is really helpful because then he can extend over defenders and finish. I think he's a pretty active defender. I think sometimes he's a little bit skinny, so he needs to get his strength up. But I do think he's active. He's bouncy on his feet. He's able to bother and harass perimeter players with his length, things like that. I think he's a pretty good passer. I think he has pretty good reads. Again, 3 assists a game and around and not that much playing time, which is pretty solid. So just things like that I like about him. Let's see what he does here. So that's a 3-on-1. So not much he could really do there. But, and then things I don't really like, he's not the most fluid player in terms of driving and shooting. I think there's a lot of thinking and just wasted movement in his shots and drives. I look at, and then again, like he shot around 45% from the floor this season in EuroLeague games. He played in 22 EuroLeague games, around 37% from 3, which is pretty solid, but that was on a small sample. And also I worry about the 3-point shooting because he's shot below 70% from the free throw line this year. So that's another thing I worry about a little bit. And we'll see his shot. I don't think he hits a 3 in this game, but I think he comes close. So that's just something to look out for as well. So again, he's guarding the inbounder right now. See, that's pretty good speed. I think he's going to be one of the faster players in this draft class. If we get a combine, I wouldn't be surprised if he leads in the sprint drills that they do. Again, right there, really good contest on the 3. He fought through the screen. He's pretty much a pick dodger. I think, he's very instinctual when it comes to on-ball defense. He knows when the screen is coming, when it's going to hit him, things like that. So he's able to avoid getting hit a lot of the time. And again, you saw right there, he was a pretty active defender, and he got a really good contest on that 3-point shot. You got something going on here, so I'll skip this. Here we go. And then in this game, I think he had 12 points, 2 rebounds, and an assist with 2 turnovers, and this was a loss against Real Madrid. So he doesn't really play a whole lot in the first half. The second half, he is out for the majority of the third quarter, and he plays the entire fourth. So yeah, that's just something to look out for. There are a whole lot of replays in this broadcast as well, so I have to kind of skip through a lot. Let's see what he does here. Let's see what he does. See, so right there again, he needs to tighten his handle, I think, a little bit. That's a really good pass. Let's see if he hits the shot. Nope. That's a really good pass, though. Again, I think he's a smart player. I think he's very instinctual with his passing. Driving, he's going to need a little bit more help. I do think he's a good finisher once he gets to the rim, but it's just a matter of getting there with his handle and things like that. Not super quick or shifty, but he's a pretty good change of pace guard. So let's see what he does here. So again, right there you saw him just kind of get through that screen. We got a charger illegal screen right here, so I'll skip this. So here's Théo. So right there it looked like another offensive foul. Yeah, it looked like an illegal screen. So again, he's pretty much pressuring on the ball again, can move his feet well. Again, that length is going to really bother smaller guards in the NBA. I think that'll really be helpful to his NBA career. Right there, he kind of got beat. He kind of shifted his feet the wrong way. Oh, that's Usman Garuba, by the way, who we are looking at right there. He's considered a top 10 prospect in the class of 2021. Just to note that. So again, here he is dribbling the ball at the floor. Again, I think he has good vertical speed. I think he's a really good sprinter without the ball, especially. Just he doesn't really have a lot of bursts with the ball in his hand, so it makes him a little bit more. It makes it a little bit more difficult for him to get by defenders off the dribble. That time he did a good job staying active off the ball right there. Kept checking his man, kept checking the ball. Some subtle digs right there. That's a pretty good dribble move right there, a little behind the back. Stop and pop. Let's see what he does here. It's another solid pass. I don't know if I would have taken that shot if I'm David Lighty, but... And it looked like... Yeah. But again, Théo was really a guy where, he was considered the best French prospect in the draft. And then Killian Hayes had a really good season for Ulm. Ooh, that time he probably tried to force it a little bit. Again, I'm not really a huge fan of the jump passes, especially when we have to wrap it around two defenders and then get it to that weak side corner. The best jump passer in this draft is probably Tyrese Halliburton. He does it way too often for my liking, even though he rarely turns it over with the jump passes, which is pretty impressive. So let's watch it again right here. So yeah, I like the read there. It's just, it's a little bit late, a little bit forced. Not really much he could do once you're in the air because he's kind of trapped. Again, three guys were on him, and then they had a fourth cutting off that weak side. That's a nice little floater from Maledon, though. So that was a good play. And again, he's just in the defender's grill, using that length to just harass his man. If he gets stronger, I think he can really guard maybe someone as big as a 3 in the NBA. I think he needs to get a lot stronger in order to do that. But I do think it's a possibility with his length. And that's the end of the first quarter, so I'll skip ahead to the second quarter. Let's see. think this is where it starts. But again, there are a lot of things to like about Maledon. He's the guy I've had my eye on for quite some time, just looking at 2020 big boards starting around 2 years ago. So I've known about him for a while. And again, his draft stock has kind of ebbed and flowed. That's another really good take from him, though, right there. And again, look at this. He's picking up full court, solid rotation with his feet. Little bit too much of a reach, but good job again, just getting. So that time he kind of got pinned on the screen, but it's gonna run a little. Oh, I think that's Gershon Yabusele, the famous first round pick from the Boston Celtics, I think 2016, maybe 2017, I'm not quite sure. Good job weaving in and out there. Again, he's more of a crafty guard than a speed guard, even though I do think he has good vertical speed, as I mentioned earlier. But again, I think he's pretty good at just utilizing his dribble when he wants to, of just kind of weaving in and out of screens and defenders, just at a more calm pace. But I do think the lack of handle right now is a little bit concerning, but I think there's room to grow there. I really do like the way he just harasses people on the ball, though. I think that's a very solid aspect to have in your game. You know, you look at guys who are similar who didn't really have a big impact on offense, but look at their defense. First guy that comes to mind for me is Chris Dunn. You know, he was a top 5 pick, didn't really pan out to the level of what you would expect a top 5 pick to be, but ultimately what ended up happening is that he became a really good defender because he has long arms. You know, he's active on defense, gets a lot of steals and things like that. Maledon, I could see maybe filling that role on a team, just in terms of a perimeter defender who's just very active and, you know, is probably limited offensively. He does have promise in an offensive game right there. That time again, he got caught in the air, managed to get a pass off though, but that time it's kind of tough. He has to stay close to the strong side corner shooter and then try to cut off the drive. So here he is on the ball. Another good pass. Again, just moving to defenders with his eyes. Nice subtle ball fake, and then 2 guys close out on him and jump on the fake. He immediately kicks it out for an open 3, which is missed, but still just a nice heady read from him. And he's very reachy on defense. I'm not really sure how much I like that. I think he'll get called for a lot of fouls early in his career in the NBA if he continues to reach like that. But I do like the active nature of his defense. I think that's a plus overall. And again, he's listed as 6'3" or 6'4". You know, he's capable of guarding like 6'5", 6'6" guys, I think. That time he did a little dribble curl. He didn't really get anything going there. So right there, he's going to shoot that three again. That's off. Not really a great shot, but it was late in the shot clock, so I understand it at least. And again, I'm not a huge fan of his form. Some people really buy his form. I don't. I think it's a little bit low, a little bit to the side. And overall, I'm just not a huge fan of how he almost pushes the ball forward instead of just releases it. So I'm not a huge fan of his form. And again, 37% from the three-point line in EuroLeague games, so that's pretty solid. I think he shot around 26% though in French league games, so that's just something to look at too. But he has shown shooting touch. It's just I'm not a huge fan of that form. That's a foul on Maledon, yeah. So again, that's just kind of a gimme foul, and he's out right here. So I'll skip ahead to 37-32 is when he comes back in. So I'll make that right there. Got the final 3 minutes of the second quarter, excuse me. So here again, Maledon's on the ball. See what he does here. Picked up his dribble a little bit early, but a good post entry there. Again, good active perimeter defense there. I think they call a foul on that, which is just, I hate that play. So here's Théo again. Attack that. See, that's a good drive, and again, it's just he's more of a pick your spot type of point driver rather than just like a get it and go type. And right there, he probably should have made that floater. But again, I do like the way he uses the long strides to just kind of guide his way through the paint. I think that is an impressive part of his game. So I think when you're looking at him and you look at, the potential Euro steps he could pull off with his length, I think that's a major thing. I think he could finish over length due to his length. I think he has great, if he gets stronger, he can shield defenders off with his body and then kind of just like float it up, So I think there are a lot of potential advantages that Théo will have when it comes to driving and finishing at the rim. So right there, it looked like he got a little bit sped up. Not a great pass, but I think he gets credited for the assist there. But he's had better passes. And I do look at how actively he's communicating. That's something that you don't really see a lot of young guys doing, especially when they're playing in the professional leagues. Like Maledon's always talking to his teammates, even on offense. He's coming down the floor. He's giving out signals to run plays and things like that. That's an underrated quality that, that young players possess, and only a few of them do have that. So I do like that he's, actively talking with his teammates, just getting them involved, communicating on defenses, communicating switches, things like that. I think that's really impressive. And again, he's been with this team for like 2 or 3 years, so that's he's probably more comfortable with them at this stage in his career. But again, I do like that he's just a willing communicator and talker. Still reviewing this. Again, there's just like a lot of late stoppages here. There we go. So right there, we saw another three. That time that looked like a good shot. His form looked a lot better there. And again, I think it's a little bit slow to get off his hand, which I'm not sure. Again, you almost see he has to set it in place, stop his feet in his entire motion, and then rise and fire, which I'm not a huge fan of. So let's see what he does here in the post. Did a decent job just kind of holding his ground there. But that's just one of those things, where... And then this is... Nothing happens on the last 3.2 seconds here, so I'll stop the video here for the first half. But again, I just want to finish my point with the shot. A lot of the good shooters, they don't have to be square necessarily. They don't have to have their feet totally aligned. They can just get it and shoot it. You see a lot of step backs, things like that. With Maledon, it almost seems like he has to fully stop his momentum and then rise and fire, which I'm not a huge fan of. I hope he improves that at the NBA level. But, overall, I thought it was a pretty solid first half from Maledon. So, yeah, that'll be the first half video. I will upload the second half video after this one is finished uploading. And, yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you for the second half.